wabarakatuh. Hello everybody, how are you today? I hope you are fine. Well, we will explain the material about adjective clause. Before that, I will introduce myself and my group.
Hi guys, my name is Gofar.
Hello everybody, my name is Ade Arya Irawan.
I'm Adinda Clara.
Hello everyone, my name is Akhdes Nurtabara PF.
Okay, I would like to explain about the meaning of adjective clause. Adjective clause is a subject matter that is often underestimated by the students, even though it is important to understand the subject matter. So, what adjective clause is? In the adjective clause, the noun is a relative clause. It's a type of dependent clause that works to describe a noun in a sentence. It functions as an adjective even though it is made up of a group of words instead of just one word. In the case of an adjective clause, all the words work together to modify the noun or pronoun. An adjective clause is a multi-word adjective that includes a subject and a verb. When we think of an adjective clause, we usually think about a single word used before a noun to modify its meanings. However, an adjective can also come in the form of an adjective clause. An adjective clause usually comes after the noun it modifies and it's made up of several words, which, like all clauses, will include a subject and a verb. Adjective clause always begin with either a pronoun or an adverb. Pronoun includes who, which, whom, that, whose. Adverb includes why, where, and when. Adjective clause answer questions that begin with which, who, when, or what kind. Unlike the name, adjective clause doesn't always contain common adjective words. Try to compare the two sentences containing the adjective clause as follows. Example 1. The girl who was angry snapped at her friend with the rubber. 2. Manchester City, whose owner is Say Mansour, the won the Premier League 6 times. In these two examples, only the first would contain the pure adjective that is angry. However, clause who has angry and whose owner is Say Mansour are both adjective clause, because who has angry used to find the girl and whose owner is Say Mansour used to find Manchester City. Okay, thank you for your attention. Next will be explained by Ade.
Thank you Adinda for your explain. Well, I will explain the types and function of the adjective clause.
There are two types of adjective clause, namely restrictive and non-restrictive. First, restrictive is an independent and dependent sentence that is bound. A restrictive clause serves to identify the noun described in a sentence. And restrictive clause in sentence usually use that to clarify or combine the nouns. Example sentence is I prefer to use a smartphone that can capture a great picture. That in this sentence is used to describe the main noun smartphone and as the main object in the sentence. And second, non-restrictive. On the other hand, restrictive is also non-restrictive. Actually, this non-restrictive existence is not really necessary because it is only as additional information in explaining the main noun in the project. Non-restrictive usually use a comma to precede a relative pronoun. Adjective clause is preceded by a word noun as a relative pronoun, namely who, used for subject, namely people or human. Whom, almost the same as who, but whom to use to replace object. Whose, used to replace ownership in English. Which is also the same as who, but which is used for an object. Where, used to describe a place. When, to explain the time. And why, to explain the reason. There are three important characteristics of an adjective clause, which are as follows: must have a subject and a verb. It must start with relative pronoun who, whom, whose, that or which, and relative adverb when, where, or why. Next, adjective clause function. First, as subject. The use of adjective clause as one of the word subject used is who, that, and which. Example, the rainbow candy that was made of sugar. Second, as an object. The use of the adjective clause as a word object is who, that, which, and who. Third, possessive. The use of an adjective clause as a possessive word to use is like whose.
Next will be explained by Akhdes Nurtabara.
Hello everyone, my name is Akhdes Nurtabara PF. Adjective clause formula. Number 1, complex sentence, independent clause plus adjective clause. Number 2, adjective clause. Relative pronoun is a clause that starts with who, whom, which, whose, that serves to explain or describe a noun or pronoun. Relative pronoun plus with or without subject plus verb. Number 3, adjective clause describe the subject. Subject plus adjective clause plus verb plus with or without object plus with or without modifier. Number 4, adjective clause describe the object. Subject plus verb plus object plus adjective clause. Number 5, adjective clause describe the subject complement. Subject plus linking verb plus subject complement plus adjective clause. Number 6, relative adverb. Relative adverb is a clause that begins with the what, where, when, and why, which also function to explain or describe a noun.
Okay everyone, I want to explain you about an example sentence in the adjective clause. Firstly, in the adjective clause, a relative pronoun function as subject, object, or possessive. Relative pronoun that can function as a subject, among other, who, that, and which. This is an example of an adjective that explains the subject. Just get to the first. Well, before that, the way the adjective clause works, what you need to remember is to always start with a relative pronoun. While the use of a relative pronoun is to bridge the adjective clause with a noun. Example of the first adjective clause is: this is a topic, it interests me. Because this is a topic that interests me. The word it is changed to that because the adjective clause marker in the joined sentence replace it. The subject of the second original sentence in the joined sentence, the marker itself is the subject of the adjective clause. Notice that the inclusion of the pronoun it in the joined sentence above will be an error. Another example such as Lina, whom I love, always prepare the dinner, and many other examples of adjective clause sentence. Maybe this is all I can explain and give to all of you. Hopefully it's useful. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and see you. Bye bye. Thank you.
Next, we will give an example of an adjective clause problem.
So, I will give an example about incomplete adjective clause. Here is it. It was the ragtime pianist called Joplin, blank blank blank, the maple leaf rig, perhaps the best known of a ragtime tunes. The answer choice are A. Wrote, B. The writer of, C. Who wrote, D. Writing. The best answer is C. Who wrote. Why C? Because C. Who wrote used to find it. Why the answer A, B, or D are not correct? Because the answer A, B, or D cannot be used to find it.
Well, I will give an example about the incomplete adjective clause. That is, the first example. The boy who was angry at his friend hit his hand. Who is a relative pronoun. Was angry at his friend is a relative clause that explains noun that is boy. Okay, the next example. I lose my bag whom I borrow from her. Whom here is a relative pronoun. I is a subject. Borrow is a verb.
Well, I will give a explain about incomplete adjective clause. That is, today is the day blank blank blank. Most people in Indonesia get the day. A. That, B. Which, C. When, D. Where. The best answer is when, because when it describes time. Why is another answer A, B, and D are incorrect? Because option A, B, and D do not describe about time.
Okay everyone, I will give an example about incomplete adjective clause. Here is it. The lady, blah 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 blah, live across the street is my own. The answer choice is A. Whom, B. Who, C. Whose, D. Which. The best answer is B. Who. Why who? Because who is the subject of the clause above use who replace a person subject. I, you, we, they, she, or person name like Budi or Gofar. After the words who, always followed by a verb, and the above clause give us more information about the lady. Okay, thank you. Those were some examples of questions from me and my group friend. Well, the conclusion of the topic we discussed is adjective clause is a dependent clause which function to use noun or pronoun in complex sentence. There are three important elements of the adjective clause. It must have a subject and a verb,
And serve as an adjective in answering questions like what, how, who, and why.
Thank you very much for your attention. If there is a word wrong, please forgive me. That's our presentation of the incomplete adjective clause. If there is a wrong word, I am so sorry. Ayan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.